Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. So I have the meditation book with me today, yet again. I didn't do the meditations for a while, and I just kind of came up with life story stuff and shared little Instagram posts that I, found on Instagram and responded to those, and then I would tell life stories, and I asked you guys to leave me questions and stuff in the comment section, so I would respond to those. But then people would be like, read the meditations, I missed the meditations. So I came back to read the meditations, and I'm enjoying doing this again. But whatever you guys want over here, whatever you find more helpful, I like to read the meditations for me, but I read several meditations every single day, just not these books. I usually save the Melody, I've read these Melody Beatty books so many times. So I usually read books that I haven't read as many times as these, and these I usually save for these videos. But let me know in the comment section below if you would prefer for me to tell life stories. I can talk about grief, addiction, anything that I've lived and gone through, relationships, marriage counseling, individual counseling. I can talk about whatever you guys want me to talk about, recovery over here. Or if you guys have specific questions, please put it in the comment section below. If you're not comfortable doing that, feel free to DM me or email me and say this is a topic I'd like you to talk about. If the content of the topic is very specific, I will probably just give a synopsis of what you asked about and respond to it. But I love doing those videos. I love responding to questions that you guys ask me about. Like I always say, anything that I say in these videos is just, obviously I'm not an expert. This is just based on personal experience of things that I've lived through. So today, let's get into the meditation. Today is the 25th of September. I cannot believe that September is almost over. It just seems unfathomable. It seems crazy, doesn't it? Okay, so, look, I pulled right to the last day of September. Okay, September 25th. Oh, it looks like a long meditation. Okay, peace with the past. Oh, this might be a really, really good one. Peace with the past, September 25th. Even God cannot change the past. And that is a quote by Agathon. Holding on to the past, either through guilt, longing, denial, or resentment, is a waste of valuable energy. Energy that can be used to transform today and tomorrow. I used to live in my past, said one recovering woman. I was either trying to change it or I was letting it control me. Usually both. I constantly felt guilty about things that had happened. Things I had done, things others had done to me, even though I had made amends for most everything. The guilt ran deep. Everything was somehow my fault. I could never just let it go. I held on to anger for years, telling myself it was justified. Justifiable anger is something that we talk a lot about in sobriety and recovery. And justifiable anger is you're angry about something, but it's a justifiable. Not that any anger isn't justified, but anger over somebody hurting you as a child would be justifiable anger. Anger over a spouse hurting you or somebody doing things. That's justifiable anger, right? I held on to anger for years, telling myself it was justified. I was in denial about a lot of things. Sometimes I tried to absolutely forget my past, but I never really stopped and sorted through it. My past was like a dark cloud that followed me around, and I couldn't shake clear of it. I guess I was scared to let it go, afraid of today, afraid of tomorrow. I've been recovering now for years, and it has taken me almost as many years to gain the proper perspective on my past. I'm learning I love the word perspective. I think when you talk about your perspective of how you looked at something compared to your perspective from 10 years ago, and you think about perspective, right, of how you look at something, I think that changes everything. I'm learning I can't forget it. I need to heal from it. I need to feel and let go of any feelings I still have, especially anger. I need to stop blaming myself for painful events that took place and trust that everything has happened on schedule and truly all is okay. I've learned to stop regretting and to start being grateful. When I think about the past, I thank God for the healing and the memory. If something occurs that needs an amend, I make it and I am done with it. I've learned to look at my past with compassion for myself, trusting that my higher power was in control even then. I've healed from some of the worst things that happened to me. I've made peace with myself about these issues, and I've learned that healing from some of these issues has enabled me to help others to heal too. I'm able to see how the worst things helped form my character and develop some of my finer points. I've even developed gratitude for my failed relationships because they have brought me to who I am and where I am today. What I've learned has been acceptance. Without guilt, anger, blame, or shame, I've even had to learn to accept the years I spent feeling guilty, angry, shameful, or blaming. We cannot control the past, but we can transform it by allowing ourselves to heal from it and by accepting it with love for ourselves and others. I know because that woman is me. Oh, wow. Today I will begin being grateful for my past. I cannot change what happened, but I can transform the past by owning my power now to accept, heal, and learn from it. Okay, so this is probably the part of my healing from a lot of things in my past that I'm in right now. I'm really, really having a very difficult time learning to get to a point. I mean, I'm somebody that practices gratitude every single day, makes gratitude lists. I experience a lot of gratitude. I believe gratitude is an action, and that you have to act on it, and, you know, on and on and on. I feel a lot of gratitude in my life. Having gratitude, I wouldn't say for everything in my past is difficult, because there's a lot of things in my past that have happened to me, I was part of, whatever, that I am grateful for. And I can look at and I can understand its importance to me in my life today. There are other things that have happened in my life that I can't do that with, that I still, and I don't know that I ever will, if you want to know the truth. I don't know that I'll ever be able to be like, I'm grateful that that event happened, especially when it involved other people. I mean, I think people now are probably talking about the accident. I'm talking about the accident. I don't know that I'll ever look at it that way. Previous to the accident, I can remember when we first started in marriage counseling, I was doing individual sessions. I'd had a conversation with my therapist or my sponsor, because in the amends process, you know, you make amends to people that you had wronged and things like that. And there was an amends that I had made. I mean, this was from like 20 some years ago and 25 years ago. And I made it long ago, but I kept on like thinking about it, and I would think a lot about it. And I actually made the amends. I think, yeah, I made talked to him amends once, and like, you know, anyway, there was a lot that was done around this amends. Like, I had put a lot of time and energy into working through this and thinking about it and talking about it. But it just kind of like, it just never left. Like, it was always kind of there. And I can remember talking to my sponsor about it, and she's like, well, we need to do like inventory on this specific situation. Like, I didn't have any resentments about it. I didn't necessarily, I mean, maybe some fear about, I don't know, running into that person again, or, you know, down the road. But like, I didn't really know why. But it was like something would happen in my life that was similar to that, and I would think back on that experience. And so I thought a lot about that, you know. And she's like, but you've made amends about this. Like, we did that together, you know, and then you had done that with a previous sponsor years before that. We've talked about this. You know, and she's like, but you're continuing to relive it over and over and over again. And she's like, you know, the steps don't promise that once you do amends, everything's perfect and you'll forget about it. And she's like, but I really think you need to take this to your therapist. And so I did at that time, the previous therapist that we had. And I did a lot of work on it, you know, and why I had these feelings attached to it. And I really could not be grateful for what I had gone through at that time. Even though I had made amends, they had made amends to me, whatever. I could not... I couldn't see that anything good came from it. I think that's one of the things that's hard for me in my life today, is that I can be grateful for experiences that's happened in my past if I can look at that experience and I can say something positive came from this, you know? When it's an experience that I look at, you know, I used to be of the belief that things in life happen for a reason. I don't really believe that anymore. And it's not just because of one or two things that's happened in my life. Actually, that's something that I kind of came to terms with several years ago. And talking to my friend, Tanya, who had experienced something really troubling in her life. She had a loss in her, you know, in her inner circle. And she said to me at the time, she's like, yeah, that was something I kind of believed like 20 years ago. I don't necessarily believe that today. She's like, I don't believe that some God out there would like teach us a lesson through this or through that. I just don't know that I believe that, you know, like through people like, you know, leaving and things like that. I just don't believe that. And it really made me really think about things. And what I really came to terms with was that it's not necessarily that things happen in life and for a reason. Like, this thing happened. And I think I believed that because I was in this like world of fairy tale kismet, that I thought like there was like this divine spirit. And I do believe in a divine spirit, right? But I think of the divine spirit more as a guide to like walk me through things today, instead of commanding things like a puppet show. And then I just have to deal with whatever, you know. That's kind of how I see it today. And like a loving, kind guide through life, and to learn from the things that have happened to me. It's not like I necessarily believe like this thing happened and purposely happened to teach me a lesson. I don't think that horrible things happen and are put in our lives. I think it's what we do with them. This is just what I believe. You can believe whatever you want to believe. I think that and I also had a friend of mine at the time, because we were saying in recovery that God never gives us more than we can handle in a day. And I'll never forget, because this friend of mine's been sober like 10 years longer than me. And he said to me, no, God gives us a lot we can't handle in a day, but with God we can get through everything. And I thought, well, that's a different way to look at it. And that kind of changed my whole perspective on everything, right? And that it's not that God doesn't give us things that we can't handle, or that God doesn't give tough times. Maybe God has nothing to do with that. Maybe God's not in the tough times. Maybe God's not in the good times. You know, maybe God's just there for us as a guide to hold our hand through things, or whatever spiritual you believe in, or the wind, or the universe, or whatever, you know. Maybe whatever spiritual beliefs I have, or whatever lessons I'm learning, are in retrospect looking back. Maybe it's just me walking through that. And looking back, I can learn things, and I can try to do better. And when you know better, you do better. And I believe that today. It's why I've made several decisions in my life today, you know, from things that have happened to me in my past. But I don't know that there's certain things that I don't think I can live in gratitude about. Like, I'm not thankful that they happened. They were senseless, and they don't make any sense to me, and I can't really make any sense out of them. But what I do know, especially and I'm not just talking about the accident, I'm not just talking about one situation, I'm talking about several situations in my life, probably 10. What I've learned is, from having talked to other people, you know, in those situations, that me sitting in it for the rest of my life and being angry and remorseful. What are the words that she uses in here? Shame, blame. I mean, in recovery early on, I learned that we're not a program of shame or blame. So what I have learned is, okay, and whether this is BS or it's just something to hang on to, I don't know. But holding on to feelings of guilt, anger, shame, and blame really doesn't do anything for me, except for keeping me from living the life that I'm still being given. And to me, that is most shameful of all, that I'm given this life, and I should live it to the best of my ability and try to learn from the things that have happened in the past. And then when I've learned from them, when you know better, you do better. And try to be the best version of myself I can be. That's all I can do, you know? But to sit in something that happened 2 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, and stay angry, feel guilty, feel blind. And it's taken me a lot of work. And I'm not there yet. With probably 5 out of those 10 things, I'm not 100% there yet. They still come up, you know? They still haunt me from time to time about things, and I still think about them, you know? But I know today, and I've been told this directly by other people, involved therapists, sponsors, everything, that to continue to hold on to that is punishing myself for something that I can't go back and change, right? And I think to some degree, when we do impose guilt or shame and blame and we just stay in it, that is rather selfish, in all honesty. It's a wasted life. It's saying, I'm going to stay in this because I'm going to just stay stuck in this moment and not continue to live a life that I was so graciously given. And I'm going to stay stuck in this because for some reason, this is the only way that I can make sense out of this, by refusing to allow myself to move on, you know? I can remember watching, Dr. Phil was with this woman. I saw this episode. I mean, I was probably in high school, early college. It was about this woman whose daughter was murdered. And for like 20 years, she died like when she was like 18. For 20 years, she kept her room exactly the same. And when Dr. Phil went on the show, or I think it was on Oprah, and he was on the show with her, and he said, what would she think about you keeping her room exactly the same? It was the dolls, the trophies, everything for the last 20 years. And she said, oh, she'd be very, very upset with me. She would have wanted me to move on with my life. She would have, I don't love that word move on. I think we move through the pain. But she said she would have wanted me to move on with my life. She would have wanted me to enjoy my life because I'm still here. And he goes, can I suggest something to you? And she said, yeah. And he said, instead of celebrating the one day that she died, can we instead celebrate the 18 years that she was alive? And she starts crying. She looks at him. It was one of Oprah's aha moments. And she said, I never thought of it that way. She said, I never thought of it this way. And she said on there that she planned to come on the show, tell her story, and that she was going to go home and she was going to take her life because there was no reason for her to continue to live. She said, but I don't need to do that anymore. And she said, oh my God. She was like, I just, if you watch that episode, I mean, she just is like, you tell she's so relieved. She's like, I never thought of it that way, you know? I think we do that to ourselves a lot. I think out of dedication to parents that have passed, spouses that have passed, children that have passed, pets that have passed, loved ones in our lives that have passed or whatever, that we hold on to these moments because we think that that's really the way of honoring them. I know if my mom was sitting in front of me that she would say to me. She said it to me before she was alive. She's like, I want you to miss me a little bit, but no, I want you to continue to go on and live your life. She's like, I want you to have the best life ever. And I remember when Alex and I first got together, we went and saw the movie Up. And I was like in this moment where I really needed like a sign from my mom. Like I was like, I need a sign from my mom that I'm supposed to be in this relationship. Like she's somebody who I would have talked to about all this kind of stuff, right? And we watched that movie Up, if you've ever seen that Pixar movie. And in it, his wife dies. And he finds this scrapbook of hers. And at the back of this, it's all these pictures of them doing stuff together. And at the back of the scrapbook, she has written in there, thank you for the adventure of my life. Now go have one on your own. And it was like, I can remember that scene. And I like walked out of the movie theater. And I was like bawling. And then I walked back in. Like I needed to hear that. And no, I don't necessarily think that was a sign from my mom. I just think it was a sign that I picked up on. And I don't think that things happen in life for reasons. I think I make reasons out of the things that happen. And I learn lessons from them. And maybe that's what life is all about. You know? Maybe life isn't as mystical as we wanted to make it, you know, and fairy tale ending, and this happened because of this, and this happened because of that. I've said many times, I think there's like this thread that weaves through the things in my life. You know, when you look at one thing, it's connected to another, it's connected to another. Maybe I'm the one weaving that. I don't know. You know, there's a lot in my life that doesn't make sense. But what does make sense to me is that for me to continue to punish myself over things that happened 30 years ago, or to punish other people over things that happened 30 years ago, is refusing the gift that I'm given today for another day to be alive. And every day in my prayers at night, that is one thing I say to my higher power. Thank you for another day to be alive, to experience this world. Thank you for legs to walk on. Thank you for arms to use, eyes to see. You know, I say this every single night. I go through my whole body. I thank God for my health, you know, because tomorrow that might not be here. And I don't want to miss a moment for that, you know? I don't want to miss one moment by continuing to punish myself and punish other people by living in things that I can't change anyway. I wish I could. There's a lot of things in my life. This is where when people say, oh, I don't have any regrets. Live through some really, really horrific shit. And you look back on that, you go, if I could take that back in a second to take away somebody else's pain, absolutely 100% I would. If I could replace their pain and put myself in that position, 100% I would. I do have regrets in my life, but I can't go back and change those things, but I can learn from them. And I can be grateful for the life I have. And I'm not there yet with a lot of these things. I'm still struggling with that, you know? Maybe that was it. I can be grateful for the life I have, not for the what happened. But maybe what happened, or all these things that have happened in my life, has maybe taught me a greater gratitude for each and every day that I'm alive. Maybe that's the lesson. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys. I love when I like figure stuff out on video, you know? Like I'm like, okay, yeah, I think that's what I needed to hear today. Anyway, I love you guys so much. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.